Lesson 15. My, mine, and where is your ambition? Okay, some good news and some bad news. I guess the bad news is that this mine and yours, or my and your, these don't transfer across very well. The good news is that they're very, very short words and they rhyme. So remember this, muy, twoi. Note that O, that accent on the O, as we saw in Viet Chord. So they're quite hard ones to get the pronunciation right. But if you get in the ballpark, you'll be perfectly understood. So two things to know on the good news side is that muy means my and mine, and toi means your and yours. So we can remember that perhaps the Old English rhymes a bit, like we had a my and thine or something like that for the Old English. Mine and thine, that's how it was, yes. So it did used to rhyme in English as well. So if you remember that English rhyming, we can remember that the Polish rhymed as well. Now, the other thing we need to know about this is that these act in the same way as adjectives when it comes to changing the endings. So if you remember, we had our basic normalne, but we needed to change the end depending on the noun: pizza, coffee, situation. And my and yours, my, yours, they act in exactly the same way. So for example, if we were talking about my pizza, then we must do exactly the same as we did with normalne. Here we have like no y, so it's just a case of adding the a. A small thing to remember, we have to remember that there's no accent now, so it just becomes moya. But apart from that, we think of these words in the same way that we think of adjectives. Okay, let's jump in and try a few. So remembering that we're going to be thinking about the gender of the noun when we decide how to say mine and yours, let's say it's my bank.
To mój bank. To mój bank.
That's it. Bank doesn't end in E or A or O, so it's masculine. And so there we've got the basic dictionary word for my. It's your product. It's your product.
To twój produkt. To twój produkt.
It's my pizza. It's my pizza.
To moja pizza. To moja pizza.
And then we've got pizza ending in A, so my must end in A. It's your wine. It's your wine.
To twoje wino. To twoje wino.
Okay, vino ending in O, so we've got that great great remembrance that O is neutered, and so we have to end the moi with an E, just as we did with normalne. Okay, so do you remember this Polish word for right that we did in the last lesson? And I mentioned that we would come back to looking at it's my right. So if you remember the Polish word for right, then you'll remember that it ends in an O, so that's neuter. So how would we say it's my right?
To moje prawo. To moje prawo.
And how to say it's your right? It's your right.
To twoje prawo. To twoje prawo.
Now, if, like I said, this moi means mine, and twój can also mean yours. So if we just want to say it's mine, now remember again, like we did in the grammar, we're not actually specifying in the sentence what is mine, so we go to the neuter version.
To moje. To moje.
And it's yours.
To twoje. To twoje.
Now, we can also use this, in question forms. We can ask, it's mine, just by saying it in a question way. Or, it's yours, like it's just the same as saying, is this yours? It's yours. And I'm showing on the screen now, if you're watching instead of listening, a piece of artwork from a beach in the north of Poland, where a lot of rubbish from the beach has been pulled together to make that it's yours question mark. And it's part of an awareness thing, making people think that the rubbish they might have left there last week is now part of that display, and raising awareness about leaving rubbish on the beach. So it's the question form of, is this yours? And that's your picture speaking 1,000 words. Okay, I'm going to include some other it's my and it's yours, because these are very, very useful and there are some good mental hooks. So let's just have a look at it's my fault. It's my fault.
To moja wina. To moja wina.
And the way I remember this, if you haven't spotted it already, fault is written very, very similar to vino, very similar to vino. And we all know what happens when we have a little bit too much vino and we get up in the morning and say, what did I do? And someone tells you and you want to say, oh, it's my fault. It's my fault that the lawnmower's sitting upside down in the middle of the lawn. Okay, so you think about that wine connection, and you're just changing the last letter to A to get that word for fault. Let's hear it again.
To moja wina. To moja wina.
And so very simple now to be able to flip that over and to get it's your fault.
To twoja wina. To twoja wina.
And one more I'm going to put in there is it's my mistake, to get the Polish word for mistake, because it's a very useful one. We'll see in a minute.
To mój błąd. To mój błąd.
Okay, so now I'm sure you definitely know how to say it's your mistake.
To twój błąd. To twój błąd.
Now, błąd is a really useful word because it also means error. So you can think of it as saying it's my error, or it's your error. But you'll see this when you're on an internet shop and you're trying to buy something, and suddenly you get that terrible 404 page which says that it's not working, it can't find the page, or something's gone wrong. It's an interesting one to look at, but there you go. You've got this błąd, which means error 404. And the way that the Polish write oops, we will write it with an OO, but of course you remember from uniwersalna, you've got the oo sound there, so that's how you'd say oops. And you also see in that sentence the Polish word for server, which is the same, obviously, as the English word, just with a bit of that Polish pronunciation and changing the V to a W. So another really easy word to learn, hopefully one you won't come across on the internet, and everything will work out for you, but you never know. Okay, now I mentioned when we were doing this grammar stuff about how important it was to know genders, and now we begin to see how the gender is going to affect the whole word of the sentence, the whole pronunciation of the sentence. So we know that we've got this food here, we know our dobra, and we know our mój, So we're going to have to change both of these, okay, because we're talking about food. So again, this is another case where at first it's good to think things through. Slowly now, speeds up later. We first of all we take what is in grammar terms they call the subject. What's the subject of this sentence? What are we actually talking about here? We're not talking about my, we're not talking about good, we're talking about food. So we take the word food. Okay, now it doesn't matter which way round you do this. So we could say first of all, okay, let's sort out the my bit. So it ends in E, that's neutered, so we need to match it here. We know our Polish word for is. We know dobra, and again we're looking at this E here to do the match. Okay, so now we've got two changes to make in a sentence like that. Let's try another one. Which you may well end up using. Let's try my bank is bad. Okay, my bank is bad. Who would have thought? Right, okay, so first of all identify the subject. What are we talking about? We're talking about a bank. Then get the Polish. How hard is that? Not hard. Let's go the other direction this time. So we know this. Okay, we remember the Polish for bad. We think, is this masculine, feminine or neuter? It doesn't end A, O or E, so it's masculine, so we're going with our dictionary definition for bad. And now over to my, masculine still. So we're going with that dictionary of my, dictionary term for my with the accent there. Okay, let's try the where is that we did very recently. Let's try where is, but with my and yours. So, because of course, if you're like me and you lose things all the time, you always want to be asking, where is my telephone?
Gdzie jest mój telefon?
So, and this is the Polish word for telephone, which you'll see remarkably similar. So let's try that.
Gdzie jest mój telefon? Gdzie jest mój telefon?
And where is my coffee? Where is my coffee?
Gdzie jest moja kawa? Gdzie jest moja kawa?
And most important of all, where is my wine? Where is my wine?
Gdzie jest moje wino? Gdzie jest moje wino?
Okay, let's flip it on its head and ask, where is your telephone? Where is your telephone?
Gdzie jest twój telefon? Gdzie jest twój telefon?
And where is your coffee? Where is your coffee?
Gdzie jest twoja kawa? Gdzie jest twoja kawa?
And of course, where is your wine? Where is your wine?
Gdzie jest twoje wino? Gdzie jest twoje wino?
So sometimes also we'll have to do what I sometimes refer to as the double think. Okay, we're thinking out whole sentences because we've maybe come across a word we haven't learnt before, and we're going to have to think out the word, and then we're going to have to think out the sentence. So here's a great one. Where is your ambition? So first of all, we have to sort out the word. So we can see there that it's a shun word. So first we think about how to flip shun words into Polish, and we get our word for ambition. Ends in A, So now we go back to how to say the your. So that's got to end in A. And we just add in the where is, which we now know. Okay, and that's the way that we get ourselves, we build up and think through and think out rather long complex sentences that would take an awful long time to learn just by like staring at a page or listening and repeating to some language tape. Oh, let's hear it.
Gdzie jest twoja ambicja? Gdzie jest twoja ambicja?
Okay, so today we've got the very, very useful one word, gives us two words in English. My and mine is covered by mój. You and yours is covered by twój. A reminder that that prawo word includes this idea that it is your right, or it's my right. Obviously, we've discovered that the endings of my and your change just like they do with adjectives. And now that you can say, where is your ambition, you can tell teenagers off.